Welcome to the Forgotten Trail podcast, where history's forgotten stories find a voice. I'm your host, Damion, and today we're diving into a case that changed history. The story of Mary Ellen Wilson. In the late 19th century, this little girl's suffering shocked the nation and led to the creation of the very first laws to protect children from abuse in the United States. It's a story of tragedy, courage, and reform. The Mary Ellen Wilson case unfolded in New York City during the 1860s and 1870s, a time when the city was bursting at the seams with poverty and social reform movements. Despite growing concerns for the public welfare, there were no laws specifically protecting children from abuse. To put this in perspective, at the time, animals had more legal protection than children. Yes, you heard that right. Organizations like the American Society for Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, or the ASPCA, were already advocating for humane treatment of animals. Yet, if a child was being mistreated, there was little anyone could do. Mary Ellen's story exposed this glaring injustice, and her case would be the spark that ignited a movement. Mary Ellen Wilson was born in 1859. Her father died shortly after her birth, and her mother, struggling to provide for her, entrusted Mary Ellen to the New York City Department of Charities. Unfortunately, this decision placed Mary Ellen in the care of foster parents who were not adequately screened. At just a few years old, Mary Ellen was placed with Mary and Francis Conley. Her foster father passed away shortly thereafter, leaving Mary Conley as her sole guardian. From that point on, Mary Ellen's life began as a nightmare. She was subject to unimaginable abuse, beaten daily, locked in a dark windowless room, denied proper clothing, and forced to sleep on the floor. Neighbors rarely saw her, and when they did, they noticed her frail frame and battered appearance. Yet, no one intervened, because legally they couldn't. Mary Ellen's fate might have been sealed if not for Etta Wheeler, a Methodist missionary who visited the Conleys' home while assisting a neighbor. What Etta discovered haunted her. Mary Ellen, pale, bore scars from repeated beatings. She was barefoot, wearing tagged and raggedy old clothes, and showed no signs of happiness or health. Etta decided she could stand by and not let this happen. But here's a challenge. There were no child protective laws back then. Desperate for help, Etta turned to the only organization she thought might be able to intervene, which was the ASPCA. Yes, the Animal Protection Agency. She reasoned that if animals were entitled to humane treatment, surely a child deserves the same. Henry, the founder of ASPCA, was appalled by Mary Ellen's situation. He used his legal expertise and influence to bring the case to the courts, framing it as an issue of human rights. In 1874, Mary Ellen's case went to trial. For the first time, the public heard the horrifying testimony, detailing years of relentless abuse. Her words were brought to the courtroom and even brought people to tears. Mary Conley, her foster mother, was convicted of assault and sentenced to 1 year in prison. But Mary Ellen's story didn't end there. It became the catalyst for a larger movement. The case inspired the formation of the New York Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Children, NYSPCC, in 1875. The first child protection agency in the world. This organization laid the groundwork for the modern child welfare systems, advocating for laws to protect children from neglect and abuse. So, what happened to Mary Ellen after the trial? Thankfully, her story took a turn for the better. Etta Wheeler and her family took Mary in, providing her with a loving home. She grew up, married, and had children of her own, a life that was nearly stolen from her. Mary Ellen's case is more than a tragic story. It's a reminder of how one voice can make a difference. Etta Wheeler's determination to help an abused child, even in the absence of laws, sparked a revolutionary in child welfare. Today, every state in the U.S. has laws protecting children from abuse and neglect. While there's still much to be done, Mary Ellen's story reminds us that change is possible. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the past. Mary Ellen Wilson's case is a powerful example of how courage and compassion can create lasting change. If you found this episode meaningful, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with others who might be inspired by this story.